Everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, the hottest show on daytime television. I've been waiting all week for you, yes you, to stop on by and watch our show. And what a show we've got lined up for you today. Waiting on set, I'd like to welcome back Michael Sipe. He brought the thunder in Season 2, and now he's ready to do it again in Season 3. Michael's a former Navy officer and a pilot. He's an author, business coach, and strategy consultant. Michael helps companies double or even triple their revenues by using strategies that bring fun and joy to the workplace. So, without any further ado, let's crack open our God Made Millionaire bank vault and let's activate some God-given dreams. Hey, Michael, welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's great to be back, TC. I love the energy you bring here.
We loved having you in Season 2. What an incredible show. What incredible feedback we got on your show. And I wanted to have you back because of the business expertise that you have. But before we dive into this show, what I want to do is just play a brief clip from your Season 2 appearance on God Made Millionaire TV.
And so the book, I talk about how we can make subtle shifts away from what a controlling person might have for us. Now, it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be society. Society can tell us how we should be living. So how do we shift our energy and our awareness into something that is a little different than what we're used to doing? And so as I reflected back about my experience coaching pilots to land on a carrier, it was that aha moment of, I'm a pretty spiritual person. I have faith. I have things that allow me to have a better life, and I've made these pivots away from my controlling dad. But what was it that was making that happen, and how can I bring that to more people? And that's when I started thinking about, well, what kind of spiritual training can I bring in that's maybe not religious, but is a spiritual piece that will resonate with a lot of people.
What an honor and a privilege to have you back for Season 3, Michael. Let's talk a little bit more, and I want to deep dive into this topic of energy in business, which is part of your expertise as a business leader coach.
Yeah, so thanks for talking about energy, because energy is so important to our business. And when I say energy, I don't mean wind or solar, I don't mean physics kind of energy. What I'm talking about is our thoughts and our emotions. And so, men are taught that, hey, we can't be emotional, we can't be stoic. But I'm going to ask you, when you've watched a football coach on TV and plays don't go for their way, or the ref makes a bad call, do you ever see them get angry?
I do.
Yeah. So men, everybody has an emotion. The question is, how are we showing it? How are we feeling it? How are we expressing it? What I found in industry is that when an innovative idea comes to a company and they start with it, 85 to 90% of those actually fail. They don't actually create value in the market.
85 to 90%?
Yeah, it's a staggering number. So innovation, we talk about innovation all the time, but it wasn't always working. These new ideas just would not make it out there. And so in that space of seeing innovation, I saw billions of dollars worth of innovation come up, a lot of R&D money go in, but that return on investment's really low when you think about it. So what I figured out was the most important principle behind all of that is people. We hear it all the time. What's the most important part to a business is the people. But that's just a name. What's really going on behind there? And so I found that really it's what kind of energy does a company bring to that development process? What kind of energy does the team have? What kind of energy does the marketing arm have?
Right. Well, I believe on our show we have an energy, and I call it the anointing. We have an anointing of God that is on our set. When people come to the set, and that's part of the energy that you're talking about. But I've walked into a home where words have been spoken, there's been conflict in that home, and there's a heaviness in that home.
Right.
You can tell that something is out of sorts with
Right.
the energy, what you're referring to as the energy, I call it the atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're doing in your work, in your business, and helping companies is how to incorporate the proper energy into their culture. Is that, am I
You're spot
hitting
on,
it?
TC. Absolutely spot on. And there are actually 7 levels of energy.
Let's talk about the 7
Yeah,
levels.
let's talk about the 7. So there's 2 at the lower level. Those are what are called catabolic energy. It's where it's sort of a negative kind of energy. And so level 1 is the lowest level of energy, and we will go through different energy levels throughout the day or over our lifetime. But level 1 is characterized by sort of a victim mentality or a victim mindset. And what happens with our employees is that they'll get lethargic. They won't feel like going that extra effort to get something to market, or they won't feel like they have to put in that extra effort in their job. And so they're stuck in this I'm not going to get promoted mentality, or they're going to look me over, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not a good fit for this company. And so their energy level is really low because they just don't see that value in themselves, and they get stuck in that level quite often. So as a business leader, our job is to look at where those talents lie with them and see if we can align them to something else. Level 2, still a little bit negative, is this sort of fighting mentality. It's more of a conflict mentality where we're looking at the opportunity to win. We don't care about anybody else. So we're going to backstab somebody else at work to try to get that promotion, or we might try to undercut somebody else because we want to get that bonus. That kind of conflict is better because now we're putting energy in there in terms of like trying to get something, but we're still very self-focused. So what happens next is, as one moves up to level 3, and energy now becomes a little more anabolic. It's a little more positive kind of energy. And that's where we take on more responsibility, where we feel like, okay, our actions have an impact, and I'm going to win, but if you win too, that's okay. And so it becomes a little bit more of a, hey, let's see if we can work together. And it builds into level 4, where it's the attitude of concern. And what we see with concern is a little bit of compassion, where we see a new employee or we see an opportunity, but we know we got to help people get to that next spot. And so what we do is we're acting a little bit more compassionately about somebody who is in a difficult situation. And so we try to help them in our business. And so what that does is it creates a little bit of bond, right? It creates some energy there where people are now no longer level 1. Now they're feeling like, hey, somebody cares about me. Maybe I'm even level 3 now because, hey, somebody actually shows interest in me. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So that's great. But what I love to see is I like to see companies get to level 5. And level 5 is really unique because that's where we start seeing the opportunity for collaboration. What happens there is people begin to see others as an opportunity to help together. It's where teamwork really starts gelling.
And you find that in the military.
You do
right?
find that
With
in the
your
military.
background. And by the way, thank you for your service
Thank you.
well.
You too.
I want to say that. But you find that level, that's the goal in the military, to have that level 5, right?
You want to get there, absolutely. And it's one that is probably the most opportunity for businesses that work well together. But when we talk about leadership and we talk about the CEO or owner of a business, then we got to think a little bit higher. And that's one where joy comes in. That's where we feel we're at peace about things. We're not worried as much. Now, as a business owner, right, we have COVID impacts, we have shutdowns, we have supply chain disruptions. That continues to go on. We're going to see inflation probably into 2024 just because of all the challenges we're having, whether it's weather, whether it's supply chain disruptions. So as a CEO, we're going to be pushed down into that level 2. Like, we've got to fight through this level. That's okay, but it can't be sustained. So we got to get back into a higher energy of being enthusiastic about our business. And that's what some really amazing things start happening at level 6. That's where we start seeing empathy show up. That's where we start seeing intuition show up. And I'll come back to intuition, but intuition is a very powerful piece as a CEO. Level 7, one of unconditional love, where we have a zest for life. That's where the divine starts showing up more and more.
Right.
Right? And so when we love our employees unconditionally, whether they make mistakes, whether they achieve something great, and we love them for being a part of our family and a part of our company and making it better and making all of it better, whether it's the customers feeling fulfilled with a great new product, whether it's our inventors coming up with that new service, teamwork with another company to boost revenue together, all those kinds of opportunities come when we're feeling an energy of level 6 and 7. So being here on the set, for example, with you, we feel this energy. There's a lot of divine anointing here because there's a power behind it. We have a passion. And that passion shows up in level 6 and level 7. So getting there is the challenge, right? We always have these limits. What's pushing us to do what we need to do? Is that because we feel we need to do it, or is it because we want to do it?
Hey everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I'm honored and privileged to host the hottest show on TV, where each and every Sunday we feature God's people, faith-based entrepreneurs and leaders activating their God-given dream right before your very eyes. I want to encourage you that if you're somebody that God has given a God-given dream, I invite you to come on our set and activate your God-given dreams. Book a call with our producers and walk in your destiny. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned a key word there about intuition.
Yes.
Intuition. I think the common opinion is that women, by nature, have better intuition than men, right? And
you're absolutely right. There is that persona, right? So, for example, we've heard about moms who've had sons in battle overseas during war, and they will wake up in the middle of the night and they will have this instinct that their son or their daughter is in harm's way, and they feel like they need to pray about it. Where did they get that message from?
Right.
That's intuition, right? So we hear about that. So that's kind of the image we might have of intuition. But there are really two types of intuition. One is non-local, which is the one kind of we were talking about there with sensing something outside of our environment. And then there's the local. And the local is really interesting because that's sort of our gut instinct. Remember when Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple, right, founded the company, arguably one of the most powerful technology companies ever. So he said that innovation is a very powerful tool. In fact, it's more powerful than intellect. More powerful than intellect? What does he mean by that? And what he means is that intuition, that sense, can actually get the right answer first. I don't know if you know this, but I didn't know it, but our heart, the heart has more neurons around it than our brain. Those neurons create an electromagnetic field, and that field can sense things. Some scientists and doctors did a study, and in that study they found that if they presented these people with an example of an image of something positive and then an image of something negative, that their heart was able to sense before the image even showed up on the screen what that image was going to be, whether it was going to be good or negative. It was a fraction of a second, but the heart sensed it before the brain did. So what happens in our body when that happens is our heart senses something. You're talking about walking into a room and getting that sense of like something's not quite right. Your heart sensed, even perhaps before you got into the room, that was something else going on there before your brain even saw anything.
I have found in my own life, and I don't know about you, but I'm talking about me, that when I honor my intuition, right?
Yes.
When I honor that intuitive knowing within me from a business standpoint, because I want to elevate this into the business realm, which is where you do your work, is helping businesses do this. But from a business standpoint, any time, and I'm talking 100% of the time when I've betrayed that intuition, that intuitive knowing of a move I was to make, right? Of a decision in business, an intuitive knowing, and I went against that, I'm telling you, Michael, 100% of the time, it's been the wrong decision. And intuition doesn't reason. It's not part of the reasoning mind, right? Because sometimes that intuitive knowing is telling you to do something that makes zero sense.
Right. So in that intuition piece, it seems to make zero sense. When it's a non-local intuition, it's something coming to us out of the blue. It's something that we just didn't expect. And it's very subtle. It seems to be kind of hard to develop, but it actually is doable. So when you talk about, hey, I wasn't listening, or I didn't, pick up on or didn't follow my intuition, quite often it's one of these other energies, a lower level energy that's caused by fear. Fear can show up in many different ways. It can show up at level 5, it can show up at level 1. But when we're clouded by our emotion of fear, then it creates doubt, and we'll start second guessing ourselves. And so when that intuitive hit comes, whether it's a local or non-local hit, we won't be thinking about it in the same frame. So one of the things that I teach is holistic choice. Holistic choice is we use our left brain, use our logic, our analytical mind, our reasoning. It's a great skill. It makes us very powerful. But at the same time, let's be energy aware of our emotions in motion, that energy in motion piece. And then when we're at level 5, 6, and 7, and we've got a lot of that baggage, that negative energy that's not with us, that's when the intuitive hits come. So it's really powerful to pull in that intuition piece, and the holistic approach of logic, emotions, and intuition make a very powerful CEO.
This is starting to make sense to me now in speaking to you about this, because I'm thinking about, as you're talking about this, people that operate at a level 2 energy, right? Just one person, and by level 2 energy, I'm talking about the people that live in perpetual chaos, perpetual conflict, right? We all know people that it's always conflict in their life. There's always chaos in their life. And my goodness, if you had that type of a person in your company or in your business, just one of those people could bring down the culture of your business. Is that what you're hitting on today?
To a degree, right? And if the environment is a huge setback for the company, that level 2 or even level 1 energy will start permeating across the whole company, right? And then it becomes a management challenge. So part of it is everybody has their moments where they can be at level 4, level 5. They're not always at level 2. It's just sometimes they feel like they have to fight, right? And so that's why they leave a job. They go looking elsewhere, is because they're at level 2 all the time. They can't take it anymore. They want to go on to something else where it's a little more harmonious. So the challenge as a leader, right, is to go, hey, let's see if we can find some skill sets that person has and make them feel empowered. How can we make them see that they actually are a contributor? And when they do that, then they get those people out of level 2. And there are many ways to go about doing that.
So the answer is not getting rid of level 2 people. The answer is to give them the proper technology and tools to elevate them. Is that what you're saying?
That's absolutely correct. And part of it too is that I like to teach is, get your heart and your brain into coherence. So one of the techniques that I use with a lot of people is we'll get these stressors that come in throughout the day. And so to deal with those stressors, we can reframe, we can take a look at the crisis and go, hey, is there an opportunity in that? And so talented leaders will do that. But I think one of the other things is like those stressors, if they're coming at us all the time, if we're in a business where we're super busy, we're trying to scale quickly, we can't keep up with all of orders, or even worse, pandemic has shut us down. That's coming at us all day long. So what I like to do with the heart and brain coherence piece is to say, hey, slow down. And we're going to slow down and focus on your breath. Focus on breathing in for 5 seconds. Just focus on your chest area. See that your heart is breathing in. Feel that joy of a love that is more powerful than you coming in. And then breathe it back out in 5 seconds.
Can you be successful? I mean, really, truly successful, not honoring your intuition?
So you can be successful without honoring your intuition, but at some point, you begin to realize that there's a higher power. And that higher power is speaking to us all the time. And so if we are caught up in our own little world, right, our own little world of our job or our family situation or our life situation, then we can kind of tune out other messages that are coming to us. Maybe a colleague has a really great idea and we didn't listen. We just weren't focused on it, right? So when our energy is at sort of a lower level and it's continually at that lower level, then we're not listening. We're never going to listen to our intuition. But when we get higher, then our gut instinct kicks in. So I was talking earlier about how the heart senses before the brain. It sends a signal to our brain. and then our brain starts an association. And then that association triggers a signal to our gut. And a fraction of a second later, our gut has that sense of whether it's good, whether a person's the right kind of person for our company, whether that idea that's brought to us is really going to work. That kind of gut intuition comes when we're a little more at peace. And that peace is when our heart and brain is in coherence. So if we can do a breathing exercise to focus on just our breath and how wonderful that breath is and how amazing that breath is, and we sync it up to about a 5-second interval of out and in, it's a really calming, peaceful moment. And that's when intuition hits.
Well, that calming, peaceful moment, that comes from military training with those fighter pilots, correct?
Yeah, so, they used to say you have to have your blood with ice cold water running through it. You have to be super cool, because when that aircraft carrier deck is pitching at night and it's moving up and down and you're afraid you might smack into the back of that ship. You got to be calm and cool about it. So like for me, I remember one time when I was flying and had a student with me, and we were at night in the clouds practicing for the very first time how to land on a carrier. And we were heading away from the carrier and turned to downwind. And on the downwind, our compass, there were 2 compasses in the plane, both were acting haywire. It seemed like they were acting haywire. We didn't know which way we were going. And if we turned and were going the wrong way, we might run into the planes that were coming in to land at the carrier.
Right.
So we were really stressed. And I turned to myself, trying to figure it out, logically, which way do we go? Which one do we use? And I got to calm myself and think through this and just be at peace about it. And the message came, go with the right one. Go with the one on the right instrument side. And so we chose that one, and it turned out to be the correct one. That was intuition.
Right.
That was that idea that was already there, but it was the right answer. And so that kept us out of harm's way. So that kind of intuition piece of being able to be cool under crisis, sure, it's military, but it's in our business too. We have crises all the time.
Which is where I wanted to transition. But before I go and I leave that point, I want to know, did you ever do a flyby of the tower like Maverick on
spill the coffee?
Yeah,
all the time. Except I was in the slow plane and he spilled it because he was too busy trying to stir his coffee and just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Stressors. Right now, I want you to speak to our companies, our business owners right now, because you speak about stressors, and there are so many stressors that are on business owners. And by business owners, I include churches too, because we've had pastors that have had to close their doors, right? We've had people that have had the stress of changing careers and leaving careers that they love, these stressors. What is your message to those people today?
Yeah. So my message to those people today is, hey, those stressors are legitimate. They can be very powerful in terms of shutting us down, but there's a bigger power. It's internally based. It's one where we tune in to our higher wisdom. And so when we have a higher emotion, a higher inspiration, then that idea will come to us on how to navigate those challenges. So we think about the supply chain disruption, we think about inflation, we see service costs driving up. It seems like a spiraling out of control nightmare for a lot of businesses. But there's an opportunity there. We can grow revenue, we can be a bigger and better company, and it requires teamwork. We have to encourage our employees to make them feel like they're part of the family, that they're part of a bigger mission. And when they do, they've got our back in many ways. So the way to navigate this future storm and this current storm of all this COVID going on and being alienated and separated from each other is to build teamwork. And that teamwork comes with an anabolic building kind of energy, and that's doable.
So tell us how somebody can get in touch with you and hire you to help them.
Yeah, sure. So I have my own website, sipecoaching.com, where I help businesses.
Say that again.
It's sipecoaching.com. Yeah, so sipecoaching.com. And then I also do a strategic consulting piece where we teach CEOs 5 fundamental areas that they need to focus on to grow strategically. And if any of those are underserved, we can't scale quickly. So I teach that in my work. And I also partner with the Strategic Advisor Board The Strategic Advisor Board is 10 CEOs who team together to help businesses grow and scale quickly. And it's the power of hundreds of years of experience all coming together to unite and make your company scale and grow quickly.
Final question. How important is your faith in your business?
Faith is very important, TC. I mean, for all of us, when we get that sense that we have a purpose, we have a reason to be on this planet, then our egos kind of take a back seat. And that ego, when it takes a back seat, opportunities open up, many opportunities, synchronicities left and right. And so our faith becomes so much stronger because we see those opportunities. And it wasn't because we did it, it's because someone else did it.
Michael, what an honor and a privilege to have you on the show today. You're one of our ambassadors here for the second time.
Yeah.
I love having you on. We're out of time for this show. Will you come back and see me again?
Absolutely, TC.
All right, my brother.
Yeah.
Michael, here we are at the end of another show.
Yep.
Time to do the prosperity dance. You've done this before.
I have done it before.
I'm going to give you the honors. You bring your shades.
I brought my shades.
Those aviator shades.
Aviator shades.
All right, I'm going to let you tell Big Mike what time it is.
Big Mike, time to play my music.
Hit my music, Big Mike. Hey everybody, TC Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I was thinking the other day of how my life was profoundly impacted and changed for the better when I published my first book, Supernatural Success. Within 45 days of publishing that book, I signed a major TV deal to feature and promote my book on that TV show. After that, I published another book, got invited back to another TV show. If you're watching this video, listen. You've been given a God-given dream to publish a book. He's given you an assignment to do, and like me, you want to try to talk yourself out of it. I didn't talk myself out of it, and my life was profoundly changed. I want to help you publish your book. If you've been given a God-given dream, an assignment to publish your book, well, we have a publishing company designed specifically from A to Z to handle all of those details for you. All you need to do right now at this point is set an appointment up with our publishing company so that we can talk to you about bringing your book to the marketplace and your voice to the nations on our show, God Made Millionaire TV, as a published author.